Good afternoon and welcome to the Governor's Office of Small Business Assistance webinar series titled What's Hot, What's Not? Marketing Tools for Small Businesses. The Small Business Assistance team is here to help Texas entrepreneurs and business owners connect with subject matter experts and to support our small businesses here in the state of Texas who make up a good portion of our state business expertise. And so thank you all for being here. As we're waiting, we're going to post a couple of interactive questions in the Q&A field to get a feel for where our audience is in their entrepreneurial journey. In the Q&A field, if you'll please like the question that best represents you and your business journey. So there's two statements here. One, I'm thinking about starting a business, or I have recently, within 2 years, started a business. Or two, I started a business more than 2 years ago. We have people trickling in, so we'll give them a minute or so more to get in here, and then we will kick off today's webinar. All right, to get us started with today's webinar, I'd like to welcome Larry McManus, our Director of Business and Community Development in the Office of the Governor, Economic Development Tourism Office, to say a few words. Over to you, Larry.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for that introduction. I want to say hello and welcome to everyone. My name is Larry McManus. I am the Director of Business and Community Development for the Economic Development and Tourism Office within Governor Abbott's office. On behalf of Governor Abbott and our Executive Director, Adriana Cruz, it is my honor to welcome you to our Governor's Small Business Series webinar, What's Hot, What's Not? Marketing Tools for Small Business. Today, we will hear from a great panel of professionals discussing marketing tools for small businesses. We are delighted to have you participating as we expand on the connection of small business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs with the resources and information needed to start, strengthen, and grow a business. Also, we want to thank all our small business partners, many of whom are based all across the state, for joining this webinar as well. You know, this serves as a reminder to all of us just how important our work is towards growing small businesses here in Texas. Governor Abbott is committed to making Texas a place for businesses to succeed, and our small business assistance team is ready to assist these businesses, which small businesses are the foundation to Texas's strong economy. And we look forward to providing this information to you, and I'll take it back to you, Brian.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate you being here and supporting us today. Now we're going to insert two more interactive questions in the Q&A area for your response. Please like the following statement that best categorizes your involvement in your company's marketing activities. The first, my business as a marketing director or coordinator, or two, I do all my own marketing. We're going to give you a couple of minutes on that and still let a few more people who are trickling in get in here before we get into the meat and potatoes of the presentation. Thank you. Again, good afternoon. My name is Bryan and I'm a business assistant specialist in the Office of the Governor and Economic Development and Tourism Office, and I'm honored today to have Darren Drewitz, a 30-year marketing professional and small business owners whose clientele include businesses in the tourism, retail, and entertainment and industrial arenas, and Bonnie Kovach, another small business owner who is juggling multiple projects and has a passion for staying on the cutting edge of marketing tools. Darren and Bonnie, welcome.
Our pleasure. Hello, everyone.
Let me get this thing started and throw a series of questions to you guys to get us into the topic, and then we can open up to the Q&A board for some questions that we can mix into the conversation, and also make some time to address at the end. So, Darren, I think I'm going to throw this first one over to you. What are the top 3 to 5 marketing tools a small business should always have in their bag?
Well, the challenging news is there's probably more than 3 or 5, but the good news is I'm going to break them out for you here fairly quickly. I think first and foremost, all small businesses, regardless of what category, business category you're in, should have a customer relationship management tool, otherwise known as a CRM. So these are Zoho, Monday.com, Pipedrive, Constant Contact. Being able to, whether you got one customer or 1,000 customers, being able to record who they are, how to contact them as they move about their career, company to company, and communicate them on a consistent basis is really important. So number one is the CRM. The second one, a CRM, most of them have the ability to do email marketing, and email marketing has been around for 20 plus years, so people tend to forget about it, and it's not that exciting or new, but it is a workhorse of a marketing tool for small businesses. So email marketing platform. The third is Google Analytics. Most companies rely on a website. You have to install Google Analytics on your website. You have to open up an account, install it on your website to get it working, but it allows you to track and report who you're getting, how often they're coming there, where they're coming from. It's a lot of insight. The fourth, and this one starts to get a little bit technical, but don't let that concern you. Also a Google product called Google Tag Manager, TAG. It's another code. It is free. Google Analytics is free. Google Tag Manager is free. And it helps with conversion tracking. Google Analytics will give you an insight in terms of who is visiting and what they're searching for. Tag Manager will help you with conversions, meaning did they sign up a form? Did they purchase something? So it's kind of a 1-2 punch. And then the fifth one is one, hopefully you know if you don't, but it's called Canva, C-A-N-V-A. Bonnie was kind enough to remind me of that. It is an online design tool that allows you to create anywhere from business cards to videos, brochures, Facebook ads, and everything in between. There's a free version and there's a paid version. That's a lot of information, but the tools are CRM, email marketing, Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, and Canva.
Darren, thank you. But let me step back a minute here a little bit too. Darren, tell me a little bit about your background. You know, today those were some great marketing tools to have in the bags. But tell me your background and how you came into having a passion for this marketing.
Absolutely. Born and raised in the business. Look over my shoulder. There's some print ads that my father did in the 80s and 90s. I grew up in North Texas. I spent my time, the first part of my career, in the corporate world, working for large companies such as Pizza Inn as their marketing director and Excel Global Logistics, the 4th largest shipping company on the planet. Moved to Central Texas 15 years ago. Got heavily involved in the data side of marketing and started my own company about a dozen years ago. And it's the only job I've ever had. It's the only job I've ever wanted.
So while you've seen things transition, you know, again, from laying out on boards and everything to all the digital. But recently we've had a struggle with the pandemic. So, that kind of probably threw a lot of business owners and marketing executives at the same time for a loop. But what are the marketing tools were the most effective during the pandemic?
The QR code was the most effective. It died and it appeared in the early mid 2000s and failed miserably, but the QR code came roaring back during the pandemic. The one that worked the most, if your question is the most effective, it's the few, but if I had to pick them, I would say it's a combination of email marketing and Google Analytics. There was this notion of sort of circling the wagons, lowering your spend in marketing and sales. And during that case, I have over 30 clients. We saw a go back to the basics approach. And so I would say the combination of email marketing and tracking who was on your site was cropped up the most during the pandemic.
Nice. Earlier you mentioned that we have Bonnie and that she'd remind you of Canva. And so we want to welcome here with us. Bonnie, tell us a little bit about your background.
I have worked in many different capacities for many sizes of businesses before I got here. So I've worked in a marketing capacity pre-social media and after, right? So I've done e-commerce, no storefront, totally online stuff. I've done big power sport dealerships, plumbers, insurance agents, all kinds of different customers and different realms that have kind of led me to where I am today.
Cool. So which marketing tools do you find the easiest and least time consuming?
So I think all Google products, everything that Darren just mentioned, they're just created specifically for what Google wants. They're giving you the tools that they think that you need to be successful in this realm. And so there's all kinds of third-party stuff that can assist you. But, I think Darren was 100% correct in guiding you towards Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, and then I'll go back to Canva. I struggled with Photoshop for so many years, and Photoshop is great, but it doesn't do what marketers need to do in a very quick way, and Canva does that. So I think the easiest, most user-friendly tool that I've found in the last probably 5 years, honestly, is Canva. They know what size, you don't have to guess what size goes where. They will tell you, and they will optimize it so it looks really well. It looks really good when it's comes up online.
And it's a template-based system. So even if you don't have any design skills, there's hundreds and thousands of templates there that if you want to do a Facebook post, a Facebook ad, that you can look through 200 different templates, and it's just a drop and drag situation.
And just as easily make it your own. So it's got the template, so you can just kind of drop in your logo and the correct verbiage for your campaign. Or once you get into it, you'll start to figure out some of the different tools, and you can make it your own as much as almost any other platform for creative.
Thank you. And then on the other end, what is the marketing tools you find the hardest and most time consuming, but are still relevant in today's environments?
I would say probably the most time consuming is video content creation. There are Canva, again, going back to Canva, there are ways and tools that are making that easier, less time consuming. But I think it's something we all kind of have to get on board with. Video is king, content is king, and that's true for social media. That's true for your email campaigns. That's true for content on your website. And, during the pandemic, it was our only way of having kind of that in-person connection with customers. And so it was really important to sort of shift focus and decide, okay, maybe my small business is big enough to need video content creation. So I would say it's the most time consuming, maybe the biggest learning curve for adults, maybe not our 20 to 25-year-old generation, but for, where we are living, It's probably got the biggest learning curve, but it's also going to propel you into the future much faster than your competitors who are not putting any effort into video content.
And Bryan, I would say, I would interject, the hardest for small businesses is HubSpot, which is a CRM tool.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a small business, you don't need to work with HubSpot. Very complicated, sophisticated system made for corporations. You do need a CRM, but I would stick away from HubSpot because it's not easy to use.
Is that a common thing that small business owners, try to get into some of these applications like HubSpot and just get frustrated and just give up?
Yes, and they waste a lot of time and money. It's a common thing even with big companies. I mean, my company gets routinely hired just to figure out what's going on in HubSpot for, $20 to $100 million companies. So small businesses, just, I'm not bad mouthing HubSpot. They're wonderful what they do. There's a lot of much more user-friendly CRMs, but if the question is, what are the tools we find the hardest to deal with? For small businesses, I would say HubSpot.
So what are a couple of the easy CRM applications right now that someone just getting into it and kind of putting their toe in the water you would recommend, or at least for them to take a look at?
Yeah, one is, I mentioned them earlier, but one is Monday.com is a good one. Zoho, which is ZOHO. Pipedrive is another. Constant Contact and MailChimp have CRM capabilities with them. Those are much more small business user friendly.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yep.
I'm going to kind of shift a little bit here. Your company, Mindecology, uses data to drive clients' marketing strategies. What trends did you see during the pandemic, and what are you seeing now that can help small businesses?
Yeah, the number one thing that we saw during the pandemic was a way above average to figure out what return on investment is, to prove what is working. That is something all small businesses ask and want. However, during the pandemic, there was such a concern about spending money that everything was, please prove how my money is working. And so what we did was advise our clients, like, look, figure out what your gross margins are and your net margins are. A lot of small businesses roughly know the percentages of their top line revenues, but they don't pay attention to their expenses or their profit margins. And the other problem that small businesses have, in my opinion, is they tend to focus on the highest volume service level or product, but it's usually the lowest margins. And so what we did was help the mix of that to focus on the more higher margin products or services. And that helped out a lot of companies during the pandemic. And the thing that has stuck around was a lot of people got their house in order. Business slowed down, but they looked at their database. They looked at their contact list. They looked at their process of developing sales, and it forced people to go back to the basics. And that has carried forward and post pandemic. That is one thing that has helped out, is let's not just sell stuff. Let's figure out what the numbers are and what they should be.
All right. So what were some of the popular marketing tools that did not work during the pandemic? Are those going to be effective now, or should they be left in the trash bin?
Yeah, so the ones that didn't work, here's what didn't work. I don't know that it was a tool so much, but it was an approach used by a tool. The biggest flop during the pandemic, in my opinion, was this mindset of reliance on free marketing, meaning that companies wanted to drive sales by social media content only. They wanted to stop the things that cost money and put all their efforts into social media. And first and foremost, social media is not free, right? There's nothing free about it. A lot of folks don't realize, if you just take Facebook, for an example, if you make a post, only 6 or 7% of the people that follow your page are going to see that post. So it wasn't a tool. It was this mindset of, hey, I'm going to circle the wagons. I'm going to stop spending. I'm going to expect social media to drive a direct response sales. That was the biggest flop. The companies that did that are the ones that struggled or went out of business.
All right. Thank
So-
you.
So what should be left in the trash bin is just I'll post on social media and that'll be enough to market. That's what that whole mindset and approach should be abandoned.
All right. Thank you. Right now, just want to let the audience, our participants, know that we're going to open up the live Q&A now. So if you have any questions, we'll try to mix them in here as we keep going through some questions and our discussions. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get to all the questions, but if you'll like the questions that you would like to see answered, we'll try to prioritize those questions that have a lot of likes, so we can get as much information out there as we can. So this next question, I'm actually going to come back to Bonnie. Let's see. What are the marketing challenges you faced, and how did you adjust to the market conditions from your business aspect?
So I will say that the everything that happened in person, we now had to figure out how to make virtual. And that was challenging, you know, because in the construction industry, in the boating industry, where I've spent a lot of time and spent a lot of the time in the pandemic there, you really rely on that relationship to make sales. And when that is taken away from you, and you have to figure out how to create and nurture that relationship virtually, you know, that led to some challenges. It led to all of us having to just sort of change a mindset and get on board. So, you know, for instance, you know, video messaging. Again, I'm going back to video content because that's a lot of what I do on a daily basis. But you know, we had to be able to humanize the experience online, and that, you know, that's a challenge in and of itself. The online you know, landscape is very video focused already. So how do we, you know, so it's not just putting a video out on social media or not just hosting a video on YouTube or your website. It's literally filming, you know, some examples from boating are, you know, we'd have a customer call in with a question. Instead of just answering that question via email, you answer it in a little video message and send that instead. They're seeing your face. You're seeing them. They're much more likely to respond in video, and respond at all. So we saw a lot of good, you know, practices that will keep moving forward based on the challenges that came up during that time.
Yeah, and Bryan, I want to tell everybody, this is not just a millennial telling you that social media and video is important. Look, I'm a Gen Xer in my 50s, and I'm 100% agreeing with Bonnie, and I've learned how to do it. And so can you too. Video gets 2,000% more engagement than a static photo. That's all you really need to know.
Yeah, and I would say also that you know, perfection is the enemy of productivity. You know, so you don't need to edit this video. It doesn't need to be this, you know, grand project where you have to learn a whole new software or something that's totally outside your comfort zone. You know, what it should be is social in nature, something the same way that you would send a video message to your mom or a family member. It, you know, you want it to be conversational. So it doesn't need to be a big production. You just need to get it out there and make it human.
It needs to be the simple truth. I agree. Humanize. The simple truth needs to be authentic. That's what people want to see in the digital world, the digital space.
So you talk. I hear you talking about the video and its importance. You know, do businesses need to invest in programs to edit it, or just their cell phone? What are some easy apps just to be able to, you know, I guess take clips out of a video and post them?
So I can answer that, but go ahead and, yeah, Bonnie, you give your answer and I'll give mine.
Well, I was just going to say our cell phones take video way larger than what we actually see online. So your phone is 100% capable of taking video for this kind of an avenue, this kind of a campaign. And here we go. It's not a commercial for Canva, and I don't work for Canva, but Canva is very easy to operate. And so if you did need to, you know, cut a snippet off the beginning or the end, or you wanted to add an opening screen with your logo, that's all easily done. And I have made so many videos, created them all in my phone, filmed them, edited them, uploaded them. The other little tidbit I will say is that a lot of platforms, they like for you to use the tools within the platform. So TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you know, instead of uploading a completed video, they actually like you to upload the video and then use their caption tool or use their music or put the clips together within the app. And they tend to weight those kind of videos a little bit higher than ones that are uploaded completely. So it's easy to play around with.
If you don't want to do that, look, basic iMovie is free and it's very powerful. There's an app called CapCut, C-A-P-C-U-T, CapCut, that is free. And like everything else, there's an upsell. But CapCut is very user friendly, and you see a lot of CapCut on other platforms. So I don't know if they're more lenient with that one, but I would. And if you're PC based, you can get iMovie for PC, but another one is called KineMaster, K-I-N-E, KineMaster, I think it's called. So there are plenty, just a simple Google search for, you know, free movie editing. You do have to put some time and investment in it, but I promise you, it's not the huge undertaking that you think it is.
All right, thank you. We do have a question from the audience here. As I pay for social, what should I focus on with my campaign? Broader awareness or smaller reach but getting more likes?
I think so. Since the dawn of time, there has been a conversation of reach versus frequency, and I think that's the nature of your. I think engagement and frequency matters the most. The average American sees 3,000 ads every day. 3,000 ads. They notice 54. The next day they remember 4. So think about that as your post. That's what you're up against. I narrow the focus. Frequency, 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 frequency. I'd much rather have engagement than a broader reach.
So what factors do you see for why small business marketing programs fail?
So I could do an entire hour just on this one question alone. I'm going to go through them lightning fast because I want to get to all the questions. But if you ever want to have me back, we can talk about just this one thing. So here are a few. Number one is messaging is a huge problem. A lot of people will create a business, they'll think of a name, they'll get a website, then they'll get out there and start talking about it. And at that point, they think, oh, what do I want to say? You have to think of that way in advance. A lot of small businesses lack a clear brand differentiator, a differentiator. You cannot go out there and say, we're the best because we say we're the best. That's never, ever going to help you. What is one thing that you do different or better? One. If you can't think of that, you have a marketing problem. So messaging, clear brand differentiator. The second messaging thing is this is number 2. It's going to sound obvious, but a lot of people don't understand this. Nobody cares about your business. Nobody. What they care about is what you can do for them. So don't talk about how awesome you are or what the thing does, or your service or product. Talk about what the benefit is to it. You have to make it about them. It sounds like the first thing I said, but it's not. One's differentiating, the other one's a benefit. The third thing, there's 2 more. Third thing is 70% of small business have a minimal business plan and 0 marketing plan. It's a mistake to try a little something here, a little something there, a little something there. That's all you will do is waste your money there. So you can't have this mentality of if we build it, they will come. You have got to pick a plan, know who your audience is, know what you're going to say to them, know how you're going to reach them. That if you don't do those fundamental things, marketing is always going to be a waste of money. And then the last thing is this, it's a mindset. Small businesses have this nature of spending just enough to be ineffective. And that is where marketing also fails. Small businesses really should be spending about 5 to 7% of their gross revenues on marketing and sales. And if you can't afford that, your marketing is going to suffer, and you either need to raise prices or you need to lower costs and for more margins to pay for marketing. So there's 4. That was a lot, I know.
I would also add giving up on your digital too soon, not seeing an immediate result, on a Google campaign, even a month and 2 months down the road. Those kind of campaigns thrive in longevity and warming up, and you doing other things on your website and in social media that lead back and forth to it. And so really just deciding it's not doing anything for you and stopping all efforts, that will set you back.
Yeah, and that's what the optimization is over time. It just, very few things are a direct response. The direct response is the worst name ever given in the business marketing world.
All right. So Bonnie, how often do you look back at your marketing plan, and how often do you adjust your plan?
All the time. So honestly, right now you should be looking at, your what you did, your trends for the last year, and setting in calendar events. That's how I do it anyway. Inserting calendar events during times that you've seen an uptick in sales or a slowdown in sales. You're going to add seasonal stuff in there too. But really using the data that you've gained over the last year and more to set out your plan for the next year. And then even when you get to that, your calendar says, ding, 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 it's time to think about X, Y, and Z. You're going, okay, you're analyzing what you've done to that point to see if your predictions early on are still accurate. I mean, you're constantly adjusting that plan. And there's all kinds of, the state of the economy is one of those things, some things you can't account for a year ahead of time. So you're constantly adjusting in little ways along, forever and always. It's really a never ending, evergreen kind of a job.
You're on mute, Bryan.
I'm sorry, I got muted again. I've got a question from the audience. Can you talk about the importance of keywords and researching competitors' keywords to gain more followers?
Yeah, it's super important. So keywords, for those that don't know, keywords are searches in a search engine. A search engine is Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, Bing. Any human being on the planet will go in there and search, Dallas dentistry, something like that. There are tools that exist that allow you to see how often people search for those words and what words they're searching for. And those words become key to your success. That is what a keyword suggests. So it's a real art and science, but the answer is keywords are very important both for paid digital, organic digital, and social media. And you should have a keyword map, a keyword plan of 15 to 20 different phrases that you should bake in to all of your outbound messaging. So that's a very technical question, but the simple answer is keywords do matter for all small businesses. If you don't know what it means, Google it, start running up.
All right. I'm going to get to this one last question here, and then we're going to open it up for Q&As. Are there any publications, websites, and/or social media that do a good job keeping readers up on the latest trends in marketing?
Yes, the good news is there's a lot. My favorite one is called Social Media Today. Social Media Today, and you can sign up for a newsletter. It can be daily, weekly, or monthly. And I'd love to hear Bonnie's ideas on this too. If you're more advanced, I would look at eMarketer. And then a couple more is Advertising Age. That's the publication that's been around for a long time, but they've done a good job of keeping up with all the trends, and it's advertising and general advertising agent. And even though I said HubSpot is challenging for small business, they really are great at synopsizing trends, not just in the digital space, but HubSpot.com is a great resource for white papers, newsletters. They're just spitting out stats left and right on an ongoing basis. So social media today, eMarketer, Advertising Age, and HubSpot, I would start there.
Bonnie?
I would add the Think with Google newsletters. Anything that Google puts out is going to be something that's going to be relevant to your digital strategy across the board. And then, any of those little newsletters that you get from Facebook or Instagram, or when you log on and it says, have you done this, and it's telling you about, this new feature. Make sure that you go through the motions of all of those things, because it's alerting you to something that it's new. Maybe it's not getting widely used like they'd like it to, so they're pushing out this notification. But what it means is they think it's important, and ultimately you have to take those little nuggets and try to implement them into your strategies.
Yeah,
so I like anything Google, and anything that comes directly from those platforms, I eat them up.
Yeah, and Facebook, it seems like that's every 3 weeks they're changing things. So.
All right, we're going to get into our questions from our audience. We have post-digital marketing. What is it, and do we need it?
P-O-S-T?
Yes, post-digital marketing. What is it, and do we need it?
Well, let's go to the next question. I don't know what post-digital marketing means.
All right.
Something that a marketer made up. You do need digital marketing. Post-digital marketing, I think, is a buzzword. I told everybody there's no question that was going to stump me, but you did it. I'm going to answer that question, but keep going.
Okay. What do you think about the advertising campaigns, and do advertising campaigns, do they still work? I guess print. I guess they may be.
For print?
I would guess. I'm not real sure where they were going on this. I guess maybe advertising it on websites and stuff like that.
So advertising campaigns absolutely work. I mean, we prove that every single day. Print is a marathon, right? Print will work, but it's over time. It does not have the immediacy that digital does. I am personally media agnostic. There's no one media channel that is better than all the other channels. If that was the case, it would eat up all the others. So the right message at the right time, the right person, that part of marketing has not changed. And I have clients on print, I have clients on radio, I have clients on TikTok and Snapchat and email and LinkedIn and everything else. You have to determine who it is. But print is a long haul. And so for small business owners, print can be very expensive, and it is a long return on investment. That's what I would say about print.
Okay.
But
I would also, sorry.
Now, I'm sorry. If you're asking about straight up what's called display digital ads, banner ads that just get put on a wide variety of websites, those are not as effective as they were 5 years ago or even 3 years ago. But it's tough for small businesses. Small businesses should start on search marketing, which is when people Google, Yahoo, or Bing something, and your ad shows up. That is the quickest return on investment for most small businesses. I hope I answered that question. Bonnie, you say something while I look up post-digital.
Well, I looked up post-digital, and it's just referring to, I think, after websites or the internet really came around. So it's everything, email marketing, social media marketing.
Oh.
It's referring to a time period, I think.
Yeah, listen, guys, check this out. Facebook started in 2004. It's almost 20 years old, right? Google has been around for nearly 20 years. So there is no new media or old media. It's just media. But you should have, at a minimum, small businesses should have some, not all. It's not an all or nothing deal. There's probably 25 different choices in this, and by that definition of post-digital. But small businesses, at a minimum, should have either what's called pay-per-click, search engine marketing, paid, or organic SEO. You should start there. Yeah, for me, I think it's a cost of doing business.
All right.
Yeah.
And here's another question from Jeff. What should you look for in hiring a social media director? Not for sales, but for visibility.
Oh man, I have a real strong opinion, but Bonnie, you go first.
I think consistency, and I have been in this role. To be honest, I was in college in 2004, so I got a Facebook page when Facebook started, and then the company I was with allowed me to have the freedom to adapt it to a marketing need, which was before business pages. So I really have come all the way through that, and I've had I've had other people, help me. I've worked with other kind of social media managers, and I think that consistency, grammar, and someone who understands branding as a whole, because everything that happens on your social media channels is your forward-facing customer messaging, right? I mean, so it's though you don't have to, labor over it like you would a print ad and every single word and the colors and all that. It still needs to go through a lens of your branding. So making sure that you hire someone that isn't just good at their phone because they've grown up with social media, but they also have an eye for appropriate messaging, marketing, and the lens that you want your customers to see you through. So making sure they're on the same page, I think is very, very important. Someone that's not going to leave in 6 months and leave you with a whole new voice to create. So that's what I would say.
Here's what I would say, and just to give me some street cred. Look, I'm an old guy, didn't want to be shown the door, so I've been obsessed with social for the last 7-8 years, so much to the point where I get paid to stand in front of 1,000 people and do social media training at a time. Here's what I would say. The shiny object phase of social media is over. So you have the pulling the levers, and then you have the brand stuff that Bonnie's talking about. The number one thing you should look at is finding a storyteller. Anybody with a little bit of time can teach themselves how to do all the tools and analytics and install things. You got to be able to tell your brand story like that. So content originality, taking a unique photo with a unique angle and finding out what is interesting, that if you can't do that, you have no business in social media, regardless of how much whiz bang technology you know. If you can't find what is engaging and interesting, you're useless in social media.
And by the way, that changes all the time. So flexibility in that person also is important.
All right. We have another question from the audience. What are better ways to market when you can't allocate money towards paid marketing when you are grant-based? I say that as you stated that the free social media options aren't the best options.
Well, they're not the best option. If you don't look, I would say this. If you have literally no money, then social is going to be your own way to go. But you're going to have to be bold, cut through the noise, and really be engaging. I would say email marketing is there too. It's not free, but it's low cost. And some places like MailChimp you can use up to 1,000 people or something like that as free before they start charging. But even after that, it's only like $10 an hour. I mean, $10 a month. And then the third is I would get into search engine optimization. You can get this from anywhere from $500 to maybe $800 a month with a reasonable firm. There's some companies that spend 10 grand a month on it. But I would look at the three things. I would say social first, email 2, and SEO 3.
Bonnie, you have anything to add, or?
I think that's right. And the advice I always give to anybody when they're saying, what's the most important thing? Where do I start? I'm opening a business tomorrow. Where do I start? And I think it all lies in SEO. I mean, really making sure that your presence, your digital presence from a Google standpoint is as solid as it can possibly be from your skill set.
In 60 seconds, look, search engine optimization, SEO, has been around for a very long time. But due to privacy concerns over the last 2 years and the whole fixing of elections and changes in Congress, they have made it much more difficult for marketers to use third-party data to do the paid stuff. As a result, the end result is SEO has now suddenly become more important than it was 2 years ago. It's always been important, but it has been placed at the forefront of your online footprint, as that's the fallout, and all marketers are adjusting to this. I just did a video a couple of days ago about why SEO is going to be super important. The last thing I want to say, if you're very limited on budget, do this. On social media, there's always been a trend, but there's a hardcore trend right now that's going to continue for the next 2 years. And it's called recommended content, which means TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, they all do this, but they're going full force now. That when a person searches for something and they show consistency in searching for a certain topic, your content is going to be shown to them more frequently. So that is a very long way to say, narrow the focus, figure out that one thing that you're good at, and then post a lot. That's what, and then that will trigger the systems of what's called recommended content to your audience. And I hope I did a good job explaining that. But if you're low on budget, SEO, and just be very singular in your thought on the type of content. And over time, that will get the algorithms to pay attention to you and give you more exposure. That's the best advice I could get. Bonnie?
All right. I would add one more thing to that, because it's something that you can control, and that's backlinks to your website. So that's making sure that you're listed in every directory in your industry, in chambers of commerce, in any type of website that you can be listed, your business can be linked back to your website.
Well, that's part of SEO, right?
Yes,
so that's important to know.
Right.
That's what she's talking about is still SEO.
Right. And those are things that I just read an article saying backlinking is the most valuable thing that SEO is the bots are looking for right now, is how many times do they get back to your website? And ways to do that are making sure that you're listed in all kinds of directories, and city websites will oftentimes have places that you can link to. So those are very important as well.
Yeah, and that is going to change here in the very near future to where it's more on-page content. But to Bonnie's point, the stuff is always changing. Don't worry so much about the in the weeds stuff that we're giving you here. Just find out what SEO is and invest in that.
All right, I'm going to combine some questions from Mark and Michael here. What alternatives are there to social media ads or customer engagement, and is radio advertising still relevant?
So regular advertising, well, this goes again to, new media versus old media. There's, in my opinion, there is no old media and new media. Depends on what you mean by regular advertising. If you're talking about TV, radio, print, which is what I think people mean by regular, absolutely there is. We have clients on the radio and TV right now. It's not typically affordable for small businesses. That's the problem. Those what you're referring to as regular media are big reach vehicles. They reach a lot of people, which is great. But guess what? A lot of people cost a lot of money. Digital allows you to be much more targeted and get more analytics feedback and control your money better. So there is no right or wrong for this. So yes, regular advertising still works. If you want to be on somebody's TV, write this down: over the top, OTT. That is a new form of cable TV to where you can be like in one neighborhood or one zip code. People like Cox Media and Spectrum News, those, whatever the cable system is, and they're able to get that to you, put you on the TV with videos at a much more affordable rate than broadcast TV. I hope that answers the question. What was the other part of the question?
Is radio advertising still relevant?
Yes, radio. Yeah, radio it's a big reach vehicle, and you have to be, if you're a small business, and some radio stations market by market have a 100,000 watt station, they're going to go out 75 miles, and so you have a lot of waste right there. But if you're a heating and air conditioning company and you have a 50-mile radius trade area, absolutely you should be on the radio. if you're a realtor, that specializes in one neighbor, radios waste. That's the answer.
All right. Bonnie, I think I'm going to ask this one of you. How do you target certain demographics on social media while keeping your core brand attractive to all demographics?
Well, I would say that every business doesn't need to be attractive to all demographics. I mean, you should have a pretty dialed in audience. That's a really big part of marketing efficiency and making sure that your messaging is getting to the right people. So I would say that, Facebook and Instagram have fairly good tools of dialing in those demographics. It's, and I think the more intimate you are with your audience and what they like and who they are, the better your ads are going to fare across the board, any platform you're on.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So on the paid ads in social, you can target age and interest. On content, you cannot. But the way to do that, though, is you go into your social platform, whatever it is, look under settings, and then go to audience, and you can see the age and sex of people. Every platform is a little bit different. But the answer is this: you cannot be all things to all people. It's the old 80-20 rule, right? 80% of your revenues come from 20% of your audience. You need to determine who that 20% is and speak to them. There's not a business on the planet that has 100% market share. Not Home Depot, not Nike, nobody. And you're not going to get 100%. Marketing succeeds when you narrow the focus. Figure out who your audience is, hit them over the head repeatedly with your message.
All right, here's another one that I think be right up your alley, Darren. As a business to business, when you're looking at business to business, what's the best way advertising wise to reach the decision maker at a company?
Well, there's a couple different ways. Number one, email is a great way to do that. There are LinkedIn outreach programs that you can use. You can get a higher grade of LinkedIn and reach out to them with inbox. Out of all the social media platforms, because I'm in the business to business space too, right? All of my clients are companies. I make more return on my dollars on LinkedIn than I do any other tactic I do for my company, Mindecology. So I would say LinkedIn is a great way to do that. Email is another way to do that. If you can afford it and you're big enough, at trade conferences, you can geographically fence in a conference and send them a message over the phone. You can send them up, serve them up ads. That's called geofencing. So I would say those three: email, LinkedIn, geofencing for B2B space. And you know what? Good old fashioned write them a handwritten letter. Say, I want to get a cup of coffee. Don't forget about that. Oop, you're on mute, Bryan.
So, sorry, it keeps jumping me over there. We got a few more minutes here. Bonnie, can I just get a few more thoughts on just kind of, your social media journey with your small businesses? I'm going to ask the same thing of Darren. Just a few tips and tricks that you guys have learned and some mistakes that y'all have made as we're closing this out for the business owners that are on here.
You're on mute too, Bonnie.
Geez Louise, it's contagious. So there's a couple of things that I feel like, and I tried to get some pretty real world experiences for these. One of which is using social media as a customer service tool also. So if you're an appointment-based business, I've seen these things work really well, posting open appointments on your Instagram and Facebook and creating a sense of urgency, like these things are really hard to get and grab them right now. And I've seen those kind of things work incredibly well. You know, making sure that you're asking people to review you, you're taking an opportunity to answer questions that you get in the store or over the phone or over email on social media. You know, so taking the whole experience that you get by walking into a store, your store, or calling on the phone or having an in-person experience, making sure that you can replicate that digitally also, I think is really important. Go ahead.
Yeah, so here's my social media journey and recommendation. And by the way, all these recommendations are true for business to consumer, business to business. Really quickly to the B2B question. So I'm listed those three things. The other one is having a dedicated page on your website to certain industries. So if you service 5 or 6 different industries, called a landing page. Some people call it a micro page, but have industry language on your website that you can send people to is very important in the B2B space. All right, my social media journey is this, and I believe in it so much. Stop selling and start telling. Nobody gets online on social media and says, I can't wait to be sold to today. That does not happen. The average American spends over 2 hours a day on social media. Nobody gets on there and goes, I can't wait to see an ad. So when you make content, you make a post and it's very salesy, we're the best. Buy from us. People are just going to flip right through it. So you have to engage them with something that's interesting, funny, provocative, bold, unique. Just be different. And I promise you, you will sell more money if you will sell more products and service if you start infotainment, entertainment, inform them, engage them. If you do that one thing only, your sales will go up. I promise you. So stop selling and start telling.
Darren, Bonnie, I want to thank you today very much for joining us here and giving these tips on the hot tools and what's hot, what's not in marketing. Again, we're at the end of our time. Here in a minute, I'll also put some contact information up. So, and we want to thank our audience and our listeners today for joining us, especially during this busy holiday season when everybody has their tight schedules right now, and everybody's kind of thinking about all the shopping they need to do before headed out. So we want to thank you too also. Before we want to go, we want to just kind of mention for our small business owners, some of the resources that we have here with the small business team, small business assistance team here in the governor's office. One of our tools here that we have is the small business resource portal. You answer just 6 simple questions to kind of customize the resources, and it'll give you some information on SBDCs in your area, SCORE, state comptroller's office, just those things that the context you may need to answer those questions that you have for your small business. And then another option again is Jack, Carroll, and myself are here to answer your questions. You can reach out to us if you don't find it on the portal, or if you can't find it on our website. Our numbers and our contact information is here up. I'll leave that up for just a few more seconds here. If you want to take a screenshot of that, we're glad to help you. I'm more on the small business side, and Jack handles our permits and licensing questions. So we have a lot of resources here in the state of Texas for our small businesses, and we hope you reach out to us and help us help you make the state of Texas as great as it can be. And then just from here today, again, after this event, you can watch this here within 48 hours. You can watch this webinar again on our YouTube channel. There'll be links to, we have an events calendar for other upcoming events. Throughout the year, we do 15, or coming up in 2023, we'll do 15 in-person events that are very familiar with this. We'll have 3 to 6 topics like this, and we'll be around the state. We'll be announcing those cities here, hopefully in the next week or two. Darren's information is up here if you want to follow up with him, and so are some of the links to the Social Media Today, Meta Blueprint, and Think with Google, some of the recommendations they made. So again, I want to thank you all. The Office of the Governor's Economic Development and Tourism Department would like to thank you, and hope you guys have a safe holiday season, and see you in the new year.